Storytime about my psycho boyfriend and backstabbing best friend. So a little background information, I was 17 and in 12th grade, and we're gonna call my best friend Sheila. And she had just met this guy who was, quote, the love of her life on this vegan Facebook page. Well, the one day while they're on FaceTime, his best friend Brad saw what I looked like and he wanted my phone number. Fast forward, she gives it to him and I start talking and we hit it off instantly. I definitely thought that he was boyfriend material, because even though we lived like 5 hours away from each other, we would Skype for like 9 hours a day, every day. Fast forward to my birthday, we make things official, and he wanted to see me for my birthday, so he decided to get a hotel room for us. So finally, him and I meet in person, and we end up doing the nasty. And it was terrible, but he was my boyfriend, so Well, after this, he ends up becoming weirdly obsessed with me. He starts saying things like the next time that he comes and sees me, we're gonna get married. After talking to Sheila about it, I decided to break things off with him because things were moving way too fast and it freaked me out. After I told him this, he started sobbing. He was like, I wish I would have got you pregnant so that way you couldn't leave me. And I'm in shock because, dude, it has been 3 months. You need to calm down. Like for part 2. Part 2 about my psycho ex and my backstabbing best friend. So like I said, Sheila convinced me to break up with him, and I did. Fast forward, Sheila becomes super distant with me, and she's posting stuff on her Facebook like, oh, when your new boo gives you his hoodie. And her man had broke up, so I texted her asking who it was about, because I'm her best friend, duh. Finally, a few days later, after she was done avoiding me, she decides to answer with, we need to talk. I slept with Brad, and now him and I are in love with each other. And I'm like, what the hell happened to girl code? Like, yeah, I didn't want him, but at the same time, you're a snake. Like, ew. Anyway, so then she starts saying things like he's the best boyfriend and the reason why I'm single is because I wasn't appreciative of him. I ended up messaging her ex and telling him what happened, and to get our get back, we slept together. Fast forward a month goes by, and then I get a text from Sheila and Brad on the same day saying that they broke up because both of them cheated on each other. And it was quite comical because Brad's like, yeah, you were the best girlfriend I ever had, and then Sheila's like, yeah, you were my best friend. I don't know why I would do that to you. I told both of them to F off, and then I told her ex what happened. So him and I laugh about it, and then 2 days later, I get a text from him saying that him and Sheila are getting married. Yeah. Storytime about my experience with karma. So a little background information, I was 17 and in 11th grade, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a mean person. Well, not kind of, I just was mean. Like, I got joy out of annoying and making fun of people. Yeah, I know there was something probably wrong with me, leave me alone. Anyway, so I would low-key always bully my cousin, and when she would get upset about it, I would make it seem as if it was a joke. Well, I guess the one day she had enough of me, because there was this boy that I really liked and we didn't know each other at all. Like, we had never spoken one word to each other. And my cousin knew that I liked this boy. So she decided that she was going to email him asking him out. And no, this isn't one of those situations where she tried to steal the guy that I liked. Nope, instead she went on my email and emailed him acting like me. Sis must have been determined to get her lick back because I don't even know how she knew the password to my email. So the next day at school, him and I are in citizenship, and we're all on our laptops for this lesson. Well, all of a sudden, I hear him whisper my name to the popular girl that sits next to him, like for part 2. Part 2 about my experience with karma. So like I said, I heard him whisper my name to the popular girl that sits next to him, and she has never liked me. I never bullied her. I know I said I was a mean person, but I didn't bully her. She just hated me. So of course she thinks it would be funny to confront me in front of the whole class, and she's like, why would you email him asking him out? Not only was I embarrassed, but I was shocked because I was like, what are you talking about? Honestly, I thought that they were lying, so I was like, whatever, I'll check when I get home. Well, when I went home that day and checked my email, what do you know? There it is. An email sent from my laptop saying, hey, I really like you. Do you want to go out with me? I forget how, but I found out that it was my cousin. I didn't do anything to her because the damage was already done at that point, but I got bullied so bad for the rest of that week. And I don't even know why. Everybody was being so extra about it. It's not like this kid had a girlfriend or anything, but people were whispering rude things to me in class. And the one day that week while I was in the locker room, that popular girl starts yelling that I have blood on my pants. Like, she screamed it so loud, everybody heard it. And I tried asking my cousin if there was anything. She was ignoring me. So now on top of the whole email situation, I was dealing with that. Obviously, eventually everything died down, but I definitely learned my lesson and I'm no longer a bully. Storytime about how my boyfriend took me back after I cheated. So a little background information, I was 16 and in 11th grade, and my boyfriend Jacob and I had just gotten back together. We'd been together for a year, but we were having some issues, so we broke up for a little bit. Well, only after a week of him and I being back together, I cheated on him. I started texting this guy and I ended up sending nudes to him, and he sent them to my boyfriend, of course. Yeah, I know, that's what I get for cheating. I'm a terrible person, blah, 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 get over it. Well, when my boyfriend confronted me about it, I told him the truth about it and he broke up with me. And I regretted it so much. A month later, I decided to reach out to him. I was like, hey, that was the worst mistake I've ever made and I want to try again. Thankfully for me, he took me back. But the first few months of us being back together were miserable. People were starting rumors that I was cheating on him again. It was literal hell. Moral of the story, if you want to get with somebody else, just break up with your partner. So if you want to get back with them, things are a little bit salvageable. Story time about how my best friend ditched me for his girlfriend. So a little background information, I was 14 years old and this all happened from 7th to 9th grade. So my best friend Aiden and I met whenever we were in 7th grade. And him and I hit it off almost immediately. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. At first, he was using me for my homework because I was a straight A student. So it definitely was a fake friendship at first. But during the summer before 8th grade, he broke up with his girlfriend. Fast forward, him and I start hanging out more. And we got super close. Then he got back with his girlfriend. And she was the jealous type. She did not like that him and I were friends at all. She was always running to my friend Chelsea asking if Aiden and I would flirt with each other. And of course, every time Chelsea would tell her no. Well, one day him and I are having a deep conversation about how he thought that his girlfriend was going to leave him for her guy best friend. How ironic. Well, I was like, I don't think she would ever do that, blah, blah, blah. But then I asked him, hey, if you and your girlfriend weren't together, would you date me? Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my best friend ditched me for his girlfriend. So like I said, him and I are having a deep conversation and I all of a sudden ask him, hey, if you weren't dating your girlfriend, would you date me? And he says yes. But nothing came of it. So fast forward, the pandemic hits and I had never saw him again because he transferred to a different high school. We still talked every day, but then he just stopped answering the phone and I asked my best friend why he stopped talking to me and she told him it was because his girlfriend got jealous and she asked him to stop speaking to me, even though she literally had no reason to dislike me. But since he's a good boyfriend, he told her that he would stop texting me, and he did, without giving me a reason, which sucked even more. But I guess that makes him an even better boyfriend because he didn't tell me, oh yeah, my girlfriend's jealous of you, sorry. But still, I was pissed. Anyway, so I accepted it at that point until one day I was texting with Chelsea and she sends me a picture of Aiden and his girlfriend. And he looked really happy with her, but I realized that I still had feelings for him and I have no idea what to do. Is it too late or no? Storytime about how my friends made everyone hate me. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 9th grade. And we're going to call my best friend Charlene. Her and I were best friends from 6th grade all the way up till freshman year. Well, when we got into high school, she caught feelings for this sophomore who we're going to call Ben. And when I say she caught feelings for this boy, she was like in love with him. Personally, I didn't like anybody. I just got out of a toxic relationship. So boys were like the last thing on my mind. Well, instead of Ben trying to pursue things with her, he would always try to flirt with me instead. And I would never go along with it because duh, girl code. Well, instead of talking to Ben about this, she would run to all of her other friends and call me a slut. For me, quote, letting him flirt with me. Like, girl, I can't control him. The most I can tell him to do is stop. Anyway, so the one day we were waiting for the bus to go home, and all of a sudden Ben comes up behind me and gives me a hug and a kiss. On the cheek, of course, but still. So I push him off of me because ew. Well, Charlene laughs it off like everything's fine, like for part 2 about how my friends made everyone hate me. So like I said, Ben comes up behind me, give me a hug and a kiss, and I say ew, push him off of me, and then Charlene laughs it off like everything's fine. But then the next day at school, people are telling me about how she was telling everybody that I would force him to kiss me and hang out with me. And of course everybody believed her and no one believed me. Which I'm not gonna lie, I feel like in high school, whenever there's a rumor starting, unless you tell your side of the story first, no one's gonna believe you. Well, thankfully, he ended up explaining the whole situation to everybody. So once those rumors were laid to rest, she started new rumors that she was gonna fight me after school. And I was tired of putting up with the shit, so I ended up beating her ass, and now I'm a senior in high school. And thankfully have found amazing supportive friends. As for Charlene, I haven't heard anything about her since, and I would like to keep it that way. Because why would you let a boy get in the middle of our friendship? Storytime about how I got in trouble for flirting with my 20-year-old neighbor. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 9th grade. And the one day I was walking my dogs with my friend whenever I saw one of my neighbors outside. And of course, because I told her that I thought he was cute, she started making a huge scene, yelling at the top of her lungs, telling me to go up to him. So I end up going up to him, and fast forward a week or two, we were talking and hanging out. And I never thought to ask his age, but he knew how old I was. And my mom and dad got to know him since he came around pretty often. Like, he would come over for movie night, and on one couch it would be me, him, and my sisters under a huge blanket. And then on the other couch would be my parents. Well, the one day we were watching a movie and there were some things going on under the blanket. Fast forward, he comes over to my house the next day, and my parents were taking a nap and both of my sisters were at school. And him and I were in the living room flirting with each other, and I didn't know that my dad was in the hallway listening. And we were talking about me going over to his house. And then my dad steps out of the hallway and he's like, where are you going without telling anybody? Like for part 2. Part 2 about how I got caught flirting with my 20-year-old neighbor. So like I said, he was over my house and then we were talking about how we should go to his, and then my dad was listening in the hallway secretly. And then he comes out and he's like, so where are you guys going without telling anybody? And my neighbor had walked out the front door and I was like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just locking the door behind him. And then my dad goes out after him. And then after hearing them talk outside, my dad came in and slammed the front door closed. And then my dad storms into my room and he's like, you know, I heard you flirting with him, right? Of course, my stupid ass making it worse. I tried to convince him that we knew he was there the whole time and we were just doing a prank on him. It didn't work. And I ended up getting grounded for 2 months and having to get a summer job to pay for bills and any trips that I had planned for the summer. Storytime about how my whole class found my teacher's OF. So a little background information, I was 16 and in 10th grade, and my best friend Maya and I were walking in the hallway getting ready for first period. Now, even this early in the morning, the rumor was already going around that Miss J had an OF. Fast forward, Maya and I get to first period. 10 minutes after class started, Miss J put a problem up on the board. After she gave us a little bit of time, she was like, okay, who can solve this? And as she's about to call on someone, there was this guy, Jake, in my class, who was passing notes to this one girl, Jessica. And if you're wondering why they were passing notes, it's because we were not allowed to have phones in this class, of course. Anyway, so then Miss J is like, can you read that to the class, blah, 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 blah. And the note literally said, did you hear about Miss J's OF? She finished teaching the rest of our class, but we didn't see her for like 3 days after that. And I guess she wasn't fired because she had an OF. It was because there were students subscribed to it. And she knew about those students that were subscribed to it and she didn't do anything about it. Story time about why I hate family vacations. So a little background information. My family vacations at the same villa every year. And since I finally turned 16, I was allowed to bring my best friend Mia. And I had just broken up with my super controlling boyfriend Liam. So this vacation was about to be lit. So of course the night before we're on FaceTime, we're planning out all these vacation activities that we're gonna do. Fast forward, we drive to the villa. After we were done unpacking, we went to the pool and that's where we met this guy, Hunter. He was super cute. He was also vacationing with his family. So him and I started talking and we ended up hanging out a lot throughout the next few days. And then the one day I didn't hear from him or see him at all. And I forgot how crazy my mom gets on these trips. But me and I, we hear strange noises coming from outside, so we go to see what it is. I just realized that if Mia and I were in a scary movie, we would be the first ones to be unalive because we literally just went outside. Anyways, yeah, we see Hunter and my mom. And let's just say my family has